Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 2K Sports Season Preview Show. I'm Greg Gumbel along with my partner Clark Kellogg, and we're ready to give you your first taste of all the big names and top teams that'll define this season. We're looking ahead to what should be an amazing year in college basketball, so let's take a look at the preseason top 25 poll and see who starts the season at the top of the heap. Here are the big five, the top teams in the country as we begin the season. The Virginia Cavaliers come in as the number one ranked team, followed by the Virginia Cavaliers are projected as the favorites here in the early going. They had a wonderful year last season, finishing with 24 wins.
That 20-win plateau is one of those benchmarks in college hoops that immediately classifies you as an elite team. So they're going to have a tough act to follow. But if they simply play to their potential, they can reach that mark again.
Maryland is in the number 2 spot. One bit of good news for them, they have last season's leading rebounder coming back for another year.
With that low post presence already established, they'll have a little bit of swagger heading into the season. I look for them to be sharp right from the start.
DePaul comes in as number 3. They carry over 3 starters from last year, so there shouldn't be too much of a learning curve for this team.
Yeah, they've got the core of that team coming back, and that's going to be huge for them. There won't be much of the feeling out process that so many other teams will have to work through early in the season.
UNLV starts the year as the 4th-ranked team. Their dreams of tournament glory last year were quickly dashed in a first-round loss.
This year they have the potential to do much better than last. Last season they spent a lot of their energy getting to March Madness and were worn out once they got there. I'll bet they handled the journey to the tournament much better this time.
Rutgers is the number 5 team. They bring back 4 starters, and that should pay huge dividends for them this year.
I can't tell you what an advantage that is for them. There's so much turnover in the college game these days that having 4 starters coming back is almost unfair, Greg.
Here's the next group of teams in our preseason top 25. What's your impression of that set of teams?
We've seen plenty of future national champions come out of this group from the middle of the top 25. I'm not willing to say just yet whether that is going to happen again this year, but a few teams.
The Dayton Flyers, the number 15 team. The Florida Gators. What do you think of this collection?
This is a year, Greg, where I think a few of the teams on this end of the poll really stand out above.
The Iowa State, the East, there was no short coach. We've come to the part of the show, the Maryland, and finally, now let's move on to the second team All-Americans. Not such a bad list, huh? These elite players all have the potential to have historic seasons if the right pieces fall into place. The Iowa Hawkeyes have built their team around this young man's talent, and I'd say that's a pretty good idea.
Cragel was close to a spot on the first team, but there was too much competition this season. He was his team's leading rebounder a year ago, and he looks poised to claim that title again this year. He brings unbelievable physicality to the court and plays a tough, intense brand of basketball.
The next player on the team is a sensational player in his own right. Michigan State is in for a great year if he lives up to his potential.
Fry is in the spotlight for all the right reasons. He was his conference's player of the year last season, and there's no doubt he'll be back in the running for that award this year, too. In fact, he may have some say in the race for National Player of the Year.
We can all look forward to some very exciting highlights from this young man this year. The Horned Frogs of TCU are looking for a lot of production from him, and they probably won't be disappointed.
Rudakis is an extremely powerful weapon for his team. He can make things happen on the basketball court thanks to his unique ability to read and understand defenses, while most players are just trying to come up with their next move. He's 3 steps ahead of the game, and that's what separates the good players from the great.
And here we have the final. All right, Clark, that should do it. Welcome, everyone. I'm Greg Gumbel here with my partner, Clark Kellogg. Just ahead on College Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. We'll preview some of the biggest games coming up this week in the NCAA, as well as show you the best action from around the nation. We begin with a special player who is an easy choice as our Player of the Week in college basketball.
Cragel is a favorite to win this award every week, Greg, and he gets it this week. If there's anyone who doesn't consider him one of the best players in the country, just take a look at his last few performances.
No doubt about that. He was absolutely on there with a total of 63 points. Whenever he got it in his mind that he was going to get a bucket, chances are he got it. You can see in these highlights what determination he had at the offensive end. His opponents were physically and mentally tapped out after having to defend against him for 2 halves. Now let's take a look ahead to the games that get top billing on the schedule in the days to come. This will be a fantastic battle. This is shaping up to be a prototypical style versus style matchup. Great scorers on one side of the court, great defenders on the other. This is going to be a real showdown.
Michigan should come out on top if I had to make a prediction. Their backcourt is so solid this year, and their guards love to get out and run. That gives them a huge advantage in a game that should be as fast-paced as this one will be.
And there's another game on the agenda that's too juicy to ignore. I'm looking forward to this game just like everybody else. This matchup has the possibility of becoming quite a little rivalry because these teams match up so well against each other, and it's always a heated atmosphere when they're on the court together.
North Carolina State would be my pick here. They're so strong on the inside that I believe they'll be just too tough to match up with. It will really surprise me if that talent discrepancy on the inside doesn't tell the tale of this game.
There was no shortage of excitement on the court in the past few days, so let's take a look at our games of the week. Let's get started with what turned into an absolutely terrific matchup. Drake was victorious over Oklahoma State.
The Drake Bulldogs weren't fazed at all by the hostile crowd. In fact, they seemed to feed off being in the enemy's building and used it to their advantage. I love to see that in a team. That's a sign of a tough-minded squad. Knight was not going to be denied. His 31 points led all scorers. They needed an effort like that to get this win. He saw all sorts of defensive looks. They threw at him. He handled it and handled it well.
Although this next contest seemed predictable enough, one of the best teams in the country suffered a severe shock to the system. Georgetown dismantled Oklahoma.
This came right out of the blue, Greg. What a wild and crazy game. Oklahoma is going to lose their spot at the top of the poll for sure after this loss. Georgetown was deadly from long range. Their three-point shooting made a huge difference. I don't know if they came into this game with a plan to attack from long range, but that's definitely the way it turned out. And when you keep knocking down threes again and again like they were, it just deflates the opponent.
That'll do it for us here in the studio. For my partner, Hi, everyone. I'm Greg Gumbel, joined at the anchor desk by my partner, Clark Kellogg. Next up on College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. We'll reveal which coaches find themselves on the hot seat as the season winds down, as well as show you the best action from around the nation. But first, we give some of the little guys their due respect with our list of the top 10 mid-major teams in college basketball.
Top to bottom, they're certainly not as strong as the list of the top 10 major conference teams, but one or two of them have just as much talent as any of those teams, especially the team in the top spot.
Loyola Marymount has a schedule that rivals that of any of the top power teams. The strength of their opponents has been just outstanding, and that's going to be a huge factor in their ability to survive in March. In playing one of the most difficult schedules in the nation, they've gotten a lot tougher along the way. There are always a number of coaches at this point in the season who are under intense scrutiny from the fans. How big is the hot seat this year, Clark?
It's more like a couch right now, Greg. You know how hard it is to please those alumni.
The Arizona coach hasn't been in this post very long, and from the looks of it, he may not be there much longer. He was just never able to establish himself in that program.
All coaches will tell you they need time to bring in the kind of players they can win with. But even in your first year or two, you've got to show signs of going in the right direction, and he hasn't been able to do that. Running a big-time program puts a coach under a microscope that coaches at non-power conference schools rarely experience. And under the glare of that scrutiny, he just has not been able to keep the critics off his back.
There was no shortage of excitement on the court in the past few days, so let's take a look at our games of the week. We had the kind of upset this week that makes college hoops so unpredictable and so exciting. Iowa got by Michigan.
This came right out of the blue, Greg. What a wild and crazy game. Michigan was sitting pretty as a top 5 team, but you've got to have some doubts about them after a loss like this. Cragel was a man possessed. His 23 points led all scorers. They needed an effort like that to get this win. He saw all sorts of defensive looks, but no matter what they threw at him, he handled it and handled it well.
And what a game we had as 2 top 10 teams squared off. Miami defeated Clemson.
You don't need to say much more than that. With a pair of top 10 teams of their caliber on the floor, there was no doubt this was going to be a monumental matchup. Miami really muscled up down low and was able to convert a lot of easy chances close to the basket. Whether it was the big men or the guards, they made the most of their opportunities. They established their inside presence from the start and were able to rely on getting their points down low throughout the game.
That'll do it for us here in the studio. For my partner, Clark Kellogg, I'm Greg Gumbel. Thanks for watching College Hoops Tonight. We're all set to show you, but before we unveil, it's time to talk about the topic that has a lot of players and coaches holding their breath right now, the NCAA tournament bubble. These are the 10 teams that aren't worried as much about where they'll be playing as if they'll be playing. Clark, who jumps out at you there?
Central Florida has been up and down this year, and it's a matter of which part of their schedule the committee wants to look at, the up part or the down part.
You got that right, and who else might be in the same position?
LSU should be considered among the best of the major conference teams not holding an automatic bid. But there are plenty of non-power conference teams knocking on the door that may prevent them from getting an invitation.
I'm sure it's been a long week for those teams, but the wait's almost over. The NCAA Selection Committee has finished its meeting. The Mississippi State Bulldogs are the top. On to the second number, the Fighting, and finally, our fourth number one. Now, here's how the brackets shape up based on where the number one seeds have been assigned. In one national semifinal game, first up, we take a look. The Virginia. Next up, St. John's comes in as the number 3 seed. The Northwestern Wildcats are in as the number 6 seed. They'll be taking on the number 11 seed, the Brigham Young Cougars, with 18 wins. Next up, the Boston College Eagles are the top seed, finishing at 20. West Virginia. Iowa comes in as the number. Fairfield enters the field as the number 5 seed from the Metro Atlantic Conference. This will be our number 2 seed. Next up is the number 7. And now the number 6 seed, the Oklahoma. What a tremendous. On to our third bracket of the day. The Fighting Irish of Notre Dame are the top seed, finishing at 24-8. They finish second in the Big East. They'll take on the Weber State Wildcats, the number 16 ranked team. This is their 15th appearance all time. Our number 8 seed, Clemson, enters the Tulane, Michigan. Next up is the number 7 seed. And now the number 3. Rutgers comes in as this bracket has the potential. And finally, let's have a look at the Atlanta. The Maryland Terrapins are the top seed. Next up is the number 8 seed, Providence. Stanford, Virginia enters the field. And now the UNLV, our number 6. It's the first question every selection. Clark, give us your take on the tournament's top. Now let's bring the conference picture into focus. The Big East gets 8 teams. The ACC with 6. 5 out of the Big Ten. The Mountain. We showed you the bubble teams before. Now that we know who's in and who's out.